promote the cadets. And I advised him that we were having our Veterans Committee, and he was here today. If you want to say a few words, Jeff?
Thank you. My name is Jeff Baird. I'm the commanding officer of NLCC Cougar here in Hamilton. That is the Navy cadets. I'm the commanding officer of the younger group of cadets in Hamilton. Our group is ages 9 to 13 years, and it's a very, very exciting program. And as Mr. Burla has stated, we had a meeting earlier basically about trying to increase awareness here in Hamilton, to increase the volunteer ratio in our Corps, and more importantly, to engage more young people into the program. It is a program that is not really well known in terms of its entirety. Most people tend to see our program from the outside, fundraising, that sort of thing, but they really don't understand what our program is about.
So ideally, from our perspective, or from my perspective, I'm going to be actively engaged in a campaign to try to promote that particular Navy League cadets itself, but also more importantly to try to increase participation from the child's perspective, but also the parents. So I'm wondering if perhaps formally, if this committee can look at potentially being not only involved with the Navy League cadets, but other cadet programs, and see if there is a synergy from our perspective formally here with this committee and that of City Council. So if I could just put that on notice, or put the committee on notice that I will be seeking some sort of discussion along these lines, it would be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Welcome. We don't have a quorum today. Unfortunately, Art Thompson has got surgery
No, he's having an MRI.
and an MRI, so he won't be here today. And so there's only 3 of the. Jerry Rattray, I would assume, is on his way home from Arizona, but I can't guarantee it. With him, he could be anywhere. And of course, we'll have to go with what we have. So, Dave, Bill, we have a gentleman here that wants to tape this meeting on, are you in agreement with that?
Certainly.
Okay, you're good to go. Now, on behalf of the committee, I want to welcome our newest member from council, Mr. Rob Masuda, and welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Welcome aboard, Bobby.
Yes, sir.
I'm Councilor Brenda Johnson from Ward 11. I just want to thank you for letting me sit in as well.
You're more than welcome.
This is, well, for the record, this is a public meeting, so everyone's welcome to attend at any given time.
Hey, but we never see the public, we'll say.
But they're always welcome to attend.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. We're going to ask everybody around the table to introduce themselves so that the new counselor gets to know who we are. I'll start with you, Dave.
Dave Stackham, member of the Veterans Committee.
Fern Viola, member of the Veterans Committee, recently retired from the federal service after 42 years.
Who hit you in the chin?
Who hit you in the chin?
So
Was that Harper?
You got it. Yeah, Ted, you can,
Yes, I'm Ted Arnold, manager of parking operations in the city of Hamilton.
Councilor Brenda Johnson, Ward 11.
Joey Coleman, journalist. It's a pleasure to be able to cover the meeting today.
Sub-Lieutenant Jeff Baird, commanding officer of NLCC Cougar, Navy cadets here in Hamilton.
Sam Marilla, Ward 4 Councilor.
Rob Masuda, Ward 14 Councilor. I'd like to say that my son is in and has been for 14 years in the Lord Strathcona Royal Horse Armor Division.
Oh.
Stationed Edmonton.
terrific.
Been to Afghanistan and back once, and does a lot of training, and he's passed the exam for sergeant, working his way up.
Oh, terrific. Great.
So I am a member of the Veterans Committee.
Rebecca Oliphant, Admin Assistant to the Director of Tourism and Staff Liaison to the committee.
And Bob Fife, Chair of the committee. And of course, we have Anna Bradford.
Everybody knows
And
me.
I bypass her, but I think everybody knows who Anna is. And welcome. So we have a change to the agenda. Item 5.3, parking for veterans in Hamilton. So we're moving this to the head of the agenda to accommodate Ted so that he can get back and do his wonderful job.
Is it wonderful?
So, I guess the big item is this parking for veterans. It's,
I think we should probably ask Ted to review that.
okay,
What
could you review what the parking for veterans is all about, Ted?
Certainly. Back in 2009, the municipality of Midland had put a proposal together that was circulated to most communities in Ontario. They were implementing a program of allowing free parking for anyone that obtained the veteran's license plate through the Ministry of Transportation. The Ministry of Transportation, I guess, was at one time lobbied by the Royal Canadian Legion to recognize our veterans through a license plate with a poppy symbol on the plates. So subsequent to that, Midland came up with this proposal and they circulated it to every municipality in Ontario, and the city of Hamilton, of course, received that as well. And during a period of starting in early 2009, we investigated the possibility of implementing such a program in Hamilton. There was three, sorry, Counselor. There was three.
I'd rather do because they need to hear.
Okay. There was 3 reports that ended up going to either committee or council on this matter. It was a very contentious issue, and it was very difficult to come up with a decision. So the final outcome was a program where a veteran in Hamilton could obtain a permit at the same time as the veteran's license plate. There was concern that anyone with a license plate, a veteran's license plate, could come into Hamilton and park for free if a program was approved. So to address that concern, we come up with a parking permit program that ran in parallel with the veteran's license plate. So an individual could get a permit that would exempt them from paying for parking in municipal parking lots and for parking at on-street parking meters. The program, there was an eligibility list that requires that the individual must be a resident of Hamilton. Their vehicle must be registered in Hamilton, and of course must have the veteran's license plate. And the permit is to be renewed yearly. And the point that I think why we're here today is that you must be 60 years of age in order to be eligible for the permit. That was the approved city council policy that was approved in May of 2009. Staff's original proposal was that you had to serve either in the Second World War or in Korea. That was the recommendation we had put forward. At Committee of the Whole, Councilors Morelli and Powers made a motion. Motion was made and seconded by those two councilors that the eligibility be for anyone that was 60 years of age or older.
Yes, sir.
Just on that point, Mr. Chairman, and I'm glad that we have an opportunity to have a brief synopsis on why we're where we are today. And I think it's important to recognize that there was a multi-stakeholder approach and a very divisive debate at council, not to mention a staff's position and how we were able to Councilor Morelli and I from this particular committee, and Councilor Powers and Morelli from council's perspective, in trying to come to some sort of compromise. And what we have before us is the compromise. And going down the road of opening that up again will be a can of worms I think nobody would want to revisit, because I think ultimately we did move the yardsticks, as it's been mentioned. Ted mentioned the fact that the criteria was only World War I, II, and Korea. And now it has opened up to anyone that has to. So I think it's one of those issues that it is a Pyrrhic victory to some degree. We didn't get the entire. Well, we shot for the stars and we hit the moon. But I think if we try to push the envelope, we might actually jeopardize what we have accomplished today. So that's something that we need to keep in mind, something we've worked on for 14, 15 years now. And that's where I basically, on behalf of what Councilor Morelli led on this particular file, not to mention all the involvement of this committee in the past as well as council, I think it's fair to say that what we have is the best case scenario within the challenges that we're faced with.
Yes, Councilor.
Thank you, and I know this is my first visit, and I apologize for jumping in so soon. This was all done prior to me coming into council, and I should have probably given you some preamble to my family. My brother-in-law is actually currently stationed at CFRB Trenton, has actually done his 30 years, but he's continuing on. He's a corporate master corporal. So the reason that this came forward was I had a couple of residents in my ward who were questioning the fact that they can go to Afghanistan, as Councillor Pasuda and my brother-in-law have done, in East Timor, and yet they can't be created and be treated the same way that all veterans are treated. They're a veteran. It doesn't matter what age you are, you're a veteran. You chose to pick up that firearm and protect this country. You should be able to be treated the same way as anyone else, no matter what generation you came from. So that's where my argument comes a little bit from. I really believe that I appreciate that this has gone through the gamut. I appreciate the fact that this has been dealt with. But I'm looking around the table as this was all getting explained, and we were all just shaking our heads, understanding we've got a 40-year-old man up in Mount Hope who can't park for free, but he's been over-toured twice. And yet we have somebody else who, another gentleman in Bimbrook, and he just worked in a warehouse for the armed forces, and he gets to park for free, and he's 60. So there's where the discrepancy is, and I think it's discriminatory in some say. So I really believe you're a veteran, you're a veteran, you're a veteran. So I don't know what the wish of this committee is, but if you choose, if you want to take a look at this again, I'd be more than happy to help out in any way, in shape, or form. So that's where I'm coming from, and I'll leave it to your good judgment.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Ted. Ted, when we originally looked back at this, what was the numbers potential for people to be eligible for a veteran's plate? Do you recall?
We had estimated, it was a very difficult exercise for the individual who worked on this. And I believe the number was in the neighborhood at the time of around 9,700 veterans that lived in the Hamilton area in total.
So if I may, Mr. Chairman, so 9,700 and no idea, I mean, as far as addresses and that, where they would be, how they would use transit and parking and that?
No, the numbers, that 9,700 was obtained through Veterans Affairs and the Department of National Defense. And that was active or retired armed forces personnel in the Hamilton area.
I'd just like to point out at this time that an active member of the Canadian Armed Forces is not allowed to apply for a veteran's plate.
That's right.
So your numbers would come down considerably.
That's right.
I know that when I'm driving around, I have these plates on mine, and I don't see every other car driving with these things. I'd just like to point out one other thing too. Right now, the city of Hamilton is in the process of revitalizing the core. They're spending an enormous amount of money on fixing up what's going to be known as Veterans Place. It seems very sad to me that you can spend tens of thousands of dollars to turn around and pay for the dead, but those who came afterwards are not entitled to anything. All they are is voters and expenses, and I think it's very sad.
Ted,
Mr. Chairman, on that point, I think there was clear consensus from this committee, including Councilor Morelli and I, that that's what our intent was to pursue. What I'm trying to vocalize is that wasn't the consensus of council, nor was it the recommendation of staff. And at the end of the day, we can always go back and rehash the reports. But all I'm saying is that if you're gonna open this up, because we've gone through it over almost a decade period, if you're gonna open this up again, there's a probability that when everything is, and I'm more than willing to champion it again, but we were unsuccessful the first time, and we can always try again for the sport of it, but I just don't wanna jeopardize anything that we have accomplished. And that's where the reality of the issue is. So and sometimes in politics, as in life, you have to try to find a compromise. This was the compromise that Councilor Morelli and I chose to accept, only because the alternative was that only World War II and Korea would be recognized. And this way, it opens up to all those that retire.
Okay. Counselor?
10 years ago, I went to the Warplane Heritage Museum November Day ceremonies with my father. There was probably 300 people in the room. And the only cameras in sight were the ones that we kept in our coat pockets. Today, there's over 3,000 people going to this. I believe that people are starting to realize that we need to honor our veterans, whether, depending on if they're 60, they're 80, or they're 40. So I really believe in my heart that this would be a no-brainer to bring it to council. When you look at not 9,700 people, it'd be less than that because it's retirees, it's not active personnel. And I really believe that we could probably give this a shot, even if we went around and got a straw vote to see first whether or not we could even have the appetite to go through with this. I think it's worth a shot.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, so what was the cost of this potentially on an annual basis?
Well, it was very difficult, it was very
There
difficult
was a
to
number that they
calculate.
came up with.
But the numbers we come up with, just so you know, and I'll compare it to today's, to date this year, we've issued veterans permits in the number of 286. And last year, it was just over 326. So when we did our calculations, and this is back in 2009, and it was, different scenarios of when individuals, how long individuals will be parking. But based on those numbers of 200 to 300, it could range anywhere from about $16,000 a year up to $80,000 a year.
Okay, and when we looked at the potential of abuse, for instance, the actual permit is attached to the vehicle, not the person, what was that aspect? I recall that being a very contentious issue as well. So in essence, if you're driving a car, if I'm driving a car that belongs to a veteran, that was also a contentious component to all of this.
It was one of the factors certainly that we put on the table, is that we cannot determine who's actually driving the vehicle.
So I'm more than willing to reaffirm the original position of this committee for the permits to be pursued for anyone that's served. I guess that would include myself, having served in Cornwallis. But having said that, what's the criteria then? Is it anyone that served in active war, or can we open up the criteria again?
The eligible, well, we base it on the license plate, but the license plate is issued by the ministry based on any person, let me just make sure here. Any person who's served 3 or more years in either the regular or reserve contingents of the Canadian Armed Forces, regardless of combat experience, or has served in NATO as a member of the United Nations Peacekeeping Force, either as a member of the forces or as a member of the RCMP or a member of any other Canadian police force.
So that's the definition?
That's the definition, yes. For a veteran's license plate,
Right.
and of course, part of our criteria is you need the veteran's license plate.
So how do we logistically then, through you, Mr. Chairman, how do we logistically, I know we talked about this then, but now that we're rehashing it, how do we deduce it down to those that actually are serving them?
We have the veteran bring in their papers. They're just some identification that proves that they actually have served.
Right, so the overall cost would be $80,000 to $100,000 a year?
Excuse me, if I might just interject here. The paperwork that he's talking about that you have to bring in is the paperwork that you have to submit to the Royal Canadian Legion to have permission to get this. They investigate your criteria, okay, and they then allow you to have the permit. It then goes to there.
No, I understand. I'm just wondering, okay, because I think I'm just trying to reaffirm what this committee did originally, but for some reason, by the time we left here and got to council, we didn't have the support for it. So for the record, at the time when you're going through this process, why would you recommend against it at that time?
Well, the main criteria, the main reason was the financial aspect. A secondary concern relates to the abuse that could occur from these permits. For instance, with the disabled permit program that we have in the city that exempts people from parking, we have serious concerns from the business community about the disabled community that are parking all day long at parking meters. So the proliferation between disabled permits, veterans permits, whatever permits are out there, taking away the available parking for the individuals that may be shopping in the
Okay,
retail area.
so from my perspective, I'm prepared, as I did back in 2005 or whenever it was, to reaffirm our position that it should be open to all veterans. And I'm sure Councilor Pasuta would second that. And we'll allow the chips to fall where they fall then. So I'll move that accordingly, and seconded by Councilor Pasuta. And Ted, I guess you'll go back to do the report, bring it to council with all the financials as well as we did last time, and then we'll talk about it at council again.
Yes, I don't know the proper protocol. Should a recommendation come from the
It would go-
subcommittee to planning?
It would go from here to planning to council, or to GIC actually.
Yes. The chair will have to submit a report to ECS, and then that will go to.
Wishing us to reinvestigate.
Yes. And I'll talk, and then what I'll do is at Emergency Community Services, which I sit on, I'll be able to expand upon it further for more detailed report, and then refer it to GIC and then ultimately to council. And listen, just as a point of clarity, Councilor Morelli and I initiated this about 10 years ago. It failed on the council floor. What we have today is a compromise that was found. If we can change what occurred, I'm all with it.
I have a question for Ted. Have you investigated other cities? They have the Veterans Plate program. I've heard from veterans from other cities get free parking wherever they go, but not in Hamilton.
We have not updated the information from 2009. In 2009, the only participatory municipalities were Burlington, Niagara Falls, and St. Catharines. There was no other exemption for veterans.
Well, I think it's about time, on my behalf, I think it's about time that the city of Hamilton looked at giving free parking for veterans with plates,
That's right.
anywhere in the city.
I'd just like to make as a final note here, we seem to take great pride in the fact that we are the only city in Canada that has a Veterans Committee. Okay? Let's put our money where our mouth is. Okay? I mean, if we're gonna, are we that worried about this money? There are all kinds of arguments that could be made against this when you look at some of the raises that some staff has had in the past. But I think it's justified. Put your money where your mouth is.
Yes, Councilor.
Thank you, and again, thank you for allowing me to come here. One of the things that I wanted to point out as well, that if there is a license plate with a veteran on it, then it's a no-brainer for the staff. There's no work involved for the staff, whereas if we have them come in, give their criteria, and then see if they're 60 years old, then we release them a permit. Well, there's some work involved, and there's staff time involved. Now there's no staff time involved. If they have the plate, that's it, it's a done deal. So to me, I think that needs to be included in the staff report, that there will be no staff time on this, that it's just whoever has the plate.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, just on that point, Ted, could you elaborate on that point? Because I think that would.
That would be a concern that we would bring forward in that, do you want to include veterans from outside the Hamilton area? And then you're opening up to.
How are you going to be able to tell?
Veterans and veterans.
The plates are the same
No,
regardless of where you-
I'm
No, but that's part of the.
Don't shoot
that's
the
all part
messenger
of
here.
the-
No, you're right. Ted's doing his job.
The situation is I don't know how many veterans we have in Canada. You know, do you want to exempt all of them? That's just,
I think the other
that's a
issue was
repercussion
that-
you have to
The
consider.
other issue was if people are commuting to Hamilton from other cities that work here. But that was, and that's all be part and parcel of the report, and we'll look into it, because that is our original position. The position of this committee is exactly pursuing what we're pursuing right now. So we're just reaffirming our original position.
But as the counselor says, it is a no-brainer if you open up to anybody. You just park, we don't have to issue any permits, everybody knows the rules. But there are financial implications, and there are also implications to the business improvement areas. They were consulted when we went through this the first go-around, to, you know, because they had concerns about, you know, you go down to the Armories, you have an event down there, and then every parking meter on James Street theoretically could be taken up by a veteran. Well, then somebody that's down there to try and buy a pair of shoes, can't find a parking spot. I'm only relaying the concerns we have received from the BIEs.
Yeah, and that's fine, and that's why we're gonna have to just, what we're gonna have to do is go through that entire process again, and I'm more than willing to do that, just to clear, for the clarity purposes of this whole initiative.
And if I could, in my last comment is, it took 3 reports to get
Oh, I know.
to get a
And
conclusion to this.
and about
So
4
this
years.
won't- Yes, and this won't be resolved for the 1st of May.
I said I wasn't around.
I just have one last question. We keep on saying that if we open up a can of worms, we could lose everything. Are you telling me then that they could decide to scrap the entire process whatsoever?
No, I don't believe that, but I think what happens sometimes is when certain things are done based on an understanding and a compromise, it sometimes creates a perception that the deal wasn't done on good, sound, solid ground. So this was a compromise position, right? So Councilor Powers took care of the suburban component of this, and Councilor Morelli, in his leadership, took care of the inner city or the city of Hamilton proper, and that was the compromise he came up with at that time. So that was a full debate that happened last term, so we no need for reconsideration. It would be simply a straightforward motion, but we have to go through the process from beginning again. And just giving you some sort of insight, having experienced it, on the surface it seems a lot simpler than it actually is. And once everything comes out, you'll understand why. But I have no problem going through it again.
If Quebec can bring it up every once in a while, so can we.
I have no problem with it. Because that was our official position of this committee. So, yeah.
Dave, are you wanting to go back to council?
Absolutely.
Bill? Beck, yeah, I agree.
Okay, so because we don't have quorum, we can't actually officially.
Okay, so what we can do though is, Councillor Pasuda and I can do it. Why don't we do it that way? Can you just draft the motion, and Councillor Pasuda and I will move it at GIC or Emergency Community Services, whatever comes first. Oh, you're not on that. GIC then, GIC. So Councillor Pasuda and I will move it at GIC.
Well, I know that our missing member would vote for it too, because he got a $30 parking ticket with the veterans plate.
He has to declare conflict.
And he never got the money back, so, you know, he's, was a little upset.
He never got the money back, what do you mean?
Well, because he has veterans plates, they tried to.
There's our official response, sir.
We're not trying to put you on the spot here.
I don't write parking tickets. I'm the good guy, I give you the permits.
Yeah.
I've seen.
Oh, because he
Yeah,
had
that's
paid
his
it.
response.
Oh,
Oh, you shouldn't have paid it. You should just.
Just doesn't pay to be a good citizen in the city.
Yeah, but right when he got it, he should have said, what's this? It's a wrong ticket, right?
yes.
Actually, he went over there to talk to them about it, and they went, no, pay it. And he was there, he wasn't gonna come
I'm
back a
not-
second time, so he paid it.
I'm not 100% sure he actually spoke to an adjudicator.
Yeah.
I think he just spoke to one of the customer service reps and didn't
This is usually,
It's
no,
not
normally,
the
so,
same.
to an adjudicator.
why don't we, is there any way though, Ted? There's gotta be a way.
To refund the money?
Yeah.
Apparently not, once the money's been paid.
In the province.
You'd have to talk to Billy Young or Pam. I
So
don't know.
legally, there's no way around it.
My understanding is not, but you should get it from the horse's mouth.
Okay, can we get then, because this was for Pam, and it reads, particularly unfortunately, however, we do not provide refunds or fines for future reference should Mr. Tompkins receive a, no, okay. So it doesn't explain why we can't. So if we can get a formal response on why we can't, and what legally we would have to do to allow it, I think in all fairness, it would send a fair message that this was unfair. You should have called his counselor.
He was guessing.
It may be. that-
I know.
When Pam says the circumstances surrounding the ticket are unfortunate, it might be that he didn't have his veterans parking pass displayed,
Well, we need to
No,
know all
he-
those details.
He did, where he parked was, where it says,
Oh, yes.
no permit parking out here.
Yes, that's right. He was in the.
He got it here?
He got it here in the area that says no,
He got it
no
at
permit
the
parking.
January meeting, the Veterans Committee meeting.
Well,
I'd
that's
just
even
like, I'd
more
just like to
reason-
point out at this time right now, okay, that parking, even to be a member of this committee, is a pain in the butt. Okay, at one time, we used to be able to park across the road, and at least that was consistent. You could always find a parking spot across the road. So what happens? All of a sudden, they want to change the rules because they want to save some money. There's that
No, I think
terrible
it's too
income again.
complicated.
So they got changed over to giving us day passes that we have here, which can be used in the parking lot in the back. 3/4 of which, okay, is no permit parking. So we have gentlemen who are in their 80s and 90s now, have to park at the very far end of the parking lot down over here to walk in here to try to attend this
No,
meeting.
Just for the record, would that be allowed to go to, would they be allowed to access convention center parking? Would that-
No, we used to, they used to get passes for the convention center, but I'm assuming now with us not being HECFI anymore, they've switched it to now we have.
No,
it
parking's
over
still
here.
us,
No, that's me.
yeah.
There's no reason why you can't get passes.
Okay, so we'll get it back, we'll get you back to the convention
Okay.
center. Yeah, because HECFI never took over our parking.
Yeah, no, we were just, when I ordered their passes the last time, we were told we couldn't have the HECFI ones anymore, we had to have the,
Oh, yeah, but they're not
okay, I'll
HECFI.
Did you
order.
get that from the clerk's department? Did they tell you that?
The Hamilton
They
Municipal
normally do
Department,
have coffee.
Oh,
the
that's-
general,
She said they haven't.
No, see, we do not have passes for City Hall anymore. They've been gone since amalgamation.
well,
All
see,
visitors, we park in the underground.
and that's why I was so surprised when I got those ones.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out for you.
Eggenroll did the same thing, so you're not alone. You're
Yeah.
not.
But I don't get, I think there's a miscommunication there,
Okay.
because
Yeah. Rebecca,
Good,
I'll
okay.
talk to Liz and we'll sort it out for
Oh,
you.
good, oh, yeah, because.
There's no reason why you can't go underground.
that's our parking, it's not HECFI.
No, it's not.
Oh, so-
Okay, good.
No, we have more room in there now because because Carmen's don't run as many events.
I,
That's
There
right.
it is.
I can't understand,
They're saving us money, which is good.
So far.
Sorry.
I can't understand why, as Dave brought up the point, that we of this committee, there's 7 of us, with a couple of advisors, hopefully down the road, cannot get a permanent parking pass to come to City Hall once a month for 12 months of the year, to park for this meeting.
I
You
don't
know,
think we have it
because-
set up that way, but we do send it to you with the agenda, right? Does it come in your agenda package?
I send parking passes to those who need it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But
And coffee.
he parked in the wrong place in City Hall and got a $30 parking.
That was an error, but had the appeal process gone through, like, had he contacted one of us, it would never have happened. But we're gonna look at it and find out why it can't happen. He should just never have paid, he just said, listen, and he could just walk right up to the second level counselor's area and say, what's up with this? And it would have done it,
He's not the type.
apparently.
He's in his 80s, you know,
He's 90.
It's all good.
or 90s.
And so, you know
He's in
what?
his 90s.
We'll all pitch in for him too, and we'll give him the $30. I'm willing to pitch in.
I don't think he'll take it now, but nonetheless, you know, and Billy's in 95, and I'm soon to be 80, you know, and
It's one
Fern,
of the few times
we're all
in life
getting
I can
older,
say I'm
so.
the
I'm
youngest.
older than you.
Anyway,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
could we also request that we have coffee and possibly tea for the,
Oh
and
my
juice,
God.
and juice for our committee here?
Here, here.
Wow.
It's about time someone spoke about it.
I remember the day when there used to be.
It's been
I don't know
time.
why that's, there is now.
It doesn't, it's just a small pot. You wouldn't need the big canister, it'd just be a small pot. And I'm sure that between the 3 of us.
Whose
we-
budget does that come
Well,
out
you
of?
can put it on, I'll say
just
on
want-
behalf of the other 2, we'll put it on our budget.
No, it would be
Okay,
Andrew.
I just want to say, we did just request $25,000 for the Veterans Committee for their events this year, and it's probably not going to be enough. And if I had coffee too.
No, you'll be fine.
I
Just
certainly
add-
don't mind
you
paying
know
for
what?
my own
At
coffee,
this
but the
point,
parking would be nice.
Just add it to the council request at the end of the
That's
day.
right.
Give them lunch too if they're around. I'm all for it.
Okay, we're
That's
finished
good.
with that.
That's
that topic for now is going back to council. Thank you, Ted.
Okay, so I'll await the direction of committee and council. We can start doing some background research, but as far as the report
Yeah,
will.
so, and that's, at the GIC, the motion will simply read that we direct staff to report back on implementing
Right.
it and what the pros and cons are.
Yeah, okay, very good.
And for protocol, any one of you can, as a committee, can come and speak about that,
As a delegation.
as a delegation, to put your 2 cents in.
I got
Thank you.
I got the candidate. He's sitting right there.
Only if I can get a free parking.
Make sure you give us the heads up before so we can give you a parking spot.
Which is protocol wise, we have to wait till we have quorum.
Yes.
So we can keep all these motions on hold
Yes.
until the
Yes.
next meeting.
And we should have,
Good thing.
everybody should be here for the April meeting,
Yeah,
except for
Jerry.
possibly Terry.
Except for the GIC one, that one we're just
Yeah.
gonna deal with the GIC.
Yeah, Jerry should be back, and Art should be back, and Harry, it's unfortunate, he won't be back. I don't think
Who
so.
won't be back?
Harry,
Harry.
you,
Ewan,
Oh, really, eh?
yeah, he's in bad shape. Harry. Yeah. I mean, he might know you 1 minute, and the next minute he,
not with it.
unfortunate.
How old is he?
Harry, he's gotta be late 70s.
Oh, he's young.
Yeah, I was gonna say, relative.
He turned
man.
80 last fall.
Oh, he turned 80 last fall?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think he was older than me, but he is. I mean, Dave's the young guy here.
He's a puppy.
He's a
Are you
rookie.
60 yet?
No.
Oh, too bad.
Okay, moving on, declaration of interest.
No.
Hearing none. Approval of minutes of previous meetings. You all read your minutes?
Is this one that
Is there any changes there? Okay. 4.2, Field of Honor, update.
No, 4.1.
Oh, business arising from the minutes, role and function of the Hamilton Veterans Committee. This one we're gonna,
This is the one that you, unfortunately, we can't approve it today because we don't have quorum, but if you would just have a look through it, make sure it captures everything that you wanted, and then we will approve it at the April 8th meeting. We
Okay.
still have time to get it to the May 12th ECS meeting.
an earlier discussion, Dave brought up a point about,
No, that was,
That was in regards to.
4.2, okay. I have to read the whole thing
For the next meeting,
at the next meeting.
for the next meeting.
Oh, for the next meeting.
The whole month.
only because we don't have quorum.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I was gonna make it
This is
on
the
today.
work, remember Carrie brought it in, and Beth, this is,
Yes.
everybody was interviewed and other people,
Yep.
and
Yeah, we went through that procedure.
Right.
So what do I do now? Just-
So, because we don't have quorum, we can't actually approve the report to go forward, so we'll bring it back on April the 8th. We still have time to get it to the May 12th ECS meeting.
Okay. We also have a report 4.2, Fields of Honor. And this one also will have to come back. And Dave, you brought up a point about militia.
If you have a look at section 18, it's, is it just 18? I'm not sure. Hold on a second. Anyways, it's mentioned in section 18, and there's a number of, this would be item 3, I guess. members of the Canadian Armed Forces, and then it states regular permanent forces who have served in all peacekeeping conflicts and are honorably discharged. This seems to be one thing that I get upset with all the time, is that you're devaluing the service that anybody who wears a uniform has. By limiting it strictly to regular permanent forces, there are people who spend 20 and 30 years in the Canadian militia, have served their time, and this sort of rules them out. I think that if they're going to have this item here, it should be members of the Canadian Armed Forces, period. Okay, if you are honorably discharged, whether you served in the reserve forces, whether you served in the regular forces, whether you fired a shot in anger, or you only ever did peacekeeping, if you're wearing the uniform, you're wearing the uniform. I don't believe that we should exclude anybody.
As stated earlier, a veteran is a veteran is a veteran. No matter how you look at him, he's a veteran. A lot of fellows and gals served in the militia and went to Afghanistan and Bosnia and other places in the world, even though they were only in the reserve. So I think they should be entitled, because they wear the uniform of the Armed Forces of Canada. If they wish, they should be buried in fields of honor. That's my look on it. Anyway.
Well, at one time, veterans were those who served in World War II and Korea. But Veterans Affairs Canada, I think it was about 2 years ago or so, changed that to say that anyone who wears uniform is a veteran.
So,
Again,
we
if,
can't do nothing until we have a
so,
vote.
so if you,
To
you
say
can,
something about removing that.
Well, we can talk.
yeah, so you can take the report back with you and review it, and then on April 8th, we can make a final decision.
Okay.
Good.
Very good. Four point three, Remembrance Day information, procedure manual.
Jamie.
Okay, at the last meeting, I said that I needed some updates from either staff and/or other members of the committee who've served in other positions, and I've received nothing, so there's been no forward motion on that.
If you're wondering, this is a manual that Dave made up on our behalf. A lot of information in there on how to run Remembrance Day and do the thing properly. And Dave has put a lot of work into this, and
Just to give a review, what it is it's a breakdown of all the different positions that are held either by staff or by members of this committee. If there's any homework that they have to do before filling in the position, it's going to tell them what they need to read up on. It's going to tell them what the responsibilities are for fulfilling that position and any other information. It's basically a one-stop shopping, so that if somebody volunteers for a position, they're not going, okay, now what do I do? Okay, the manual serves as and we would love to have some input from the cadets as well, because I've actually included them as well in for the gun firing at for
Field
the
gun?
hour and that kind of stuff.
field gun, yeah.
So if you would like to include any of that, I would love to hear about it, sir.
That actually is our CSCC Lion
Okay?
that takes care of that.
Mhm.
That's the older crew, they are the ones that have the gunnery crew. But I'd be more than happy to put you in contact with Lieutenant Concordia. She is the new commanding officer of that corps.
Thank you very much, sir.
Be great. If you were wondering why, well,
Sorry?
last year I was on vacation, last October. I was in Myrtle Beach for a month. And before I went away, I knew Remembrance Day was coming up, and I knew that I was the chair of this committee, and I knew that I was going to have to do something or say something. Well, I came home at the end of October from Myrtle Beach. There was nothing. This gentleman right here, Jerry Rattray, I thought took all the information with him to Arizona. And I'm thinking, what do I do?
If you'd seen the panic in his eyes.
There was panic. There certainly was panic in my eyes. And through these ladies here on my left and right and others, we got the information, and it was it was carried out well, and I was quite pleased with what happened. And it wasn't just a one-day event, it was a two-day event. And because the Garrison Parade is always on the Sunday, either before or after the November 11th, the closest Sunday too. And as Dave said, there was panic in my eyes, so I was trying to include him too, so he did.
The intent of this also is that it's Chris, isn't it? Isn't it Chris? Christopher came forward. I mean, he was dropped into this thing at the last minute too, and he certainly rose to the occasion. He did a fantastic job of coming through above and beyond. But I'd like to make it so that this is also good for city staff as well too, that they can look through this thing, see what needs to be done, so that it doesn't come as a bombshell on somebody like that again too.
Who gets copies of this? I have Remembrance Day, it's always the Sunday before the actual Remembrance Day. If it's on it, that's fine as well, and it's in Glanbrook, because we respect the fact that the Warplane is doing theirs. And we also have one at the Delta in Stony Creek, which is just on the cusp of my ward. So our air cadets actually take over the one for the Glanbrook, so we're in their hands. They've done an amazing job. Christopher's come in with all the technical stuff that we need. So who gets a copy of this?
When it's done, if it's ever done, it'll be well. We have a Dropbox site that our Veterans Committee uses, and anybody from the city staff who is assisting this committee is free to have access to that Dropbox, and we can put it up there. But we can also make sure that they get a copy of it as well.
It would be wonderful if you circulated that. It really would, because I would know where to start looking if I needed to.
One of the other things, this is just an aside of this, one of the other things that we're looking at too is that we want to review whether or not we're doing it the way we are just because it's the way we've always done it. I mean, there's a lot of different places have some very good ideas on these things, and we want to try to revisit this and say, okay, let's take the best of the best and add it all into it. If we're going to spend an awful lot of money in having the downtown core set up and we have a fantastic turnout, then let's turn around and include the best that we can. So.
And my copy, I took off the email that Dave sent out, so that's where it all came from. It's quite a few pages, but
An awful lot of it is just the shell. It
But
needs to have.
understanding that it could be amended at any time,
Oh yeah.
it's still nice to have a copy.
Yeah.
Well,
Want
what-
to give her yours?
eh?
I said,
I
I
can
can give her
yeah.
yours for now.
But
But bear in mind, like I said, this is right now is an empty shell.
it's amazing because Christopher was dropped into, as Dave said, into the position of helping us last year at the last minute because our regular person was taken away to perform other work for the city. So he took the program, and Jerry had left a lot of notes just scribbled in pencil on the program. Well, Christopher took that and he wrote it down and put it all on the program in red. So everything in red I had to say when I was standing at the podium. It was so easy. It was so good that the panic went out of my body when I saw that, I'll tell you. And but it's, as Dave says, it's a good program, and if people need information, it'll be there in regards to Remembrance Day. And we also do 3 other things in the city. We do East End decoration, West End decoration, and our HLI's memorial at the beach on the 19th of August. The Veterans Committee looks after them. And mainly it's sound systems and things like that, but nonetheless, they were done. You gotta go?
Yes, any more updates, anything?
No, if we need you, we'll call you.
All right.
Yeah, we're-
Yeah. Take care, guys.
Okay. And this year, because of the work being done at the cenotaph in November, we will not be using it for Remembrance Day. We are going to the Luna Gardens on the Garrison Parade.
You're in the station.
Turn right out of the Armories as opposed to turning left, and go down into the Luna Gardens and hold the service there.
Has that been confirmed?
It has been confirmed, and I was just double checking. Pam took your, Pam Mulholland, who started Remembrance Day last year, but then got pulled off. She has done up a budget using the $25,000 that was approved at GIC. So she's, 9,000 of it has been earmarked for the November 9th Laguna Station. We don't need as much for sound for that one, but we need more obviously for rentals because we never paid for Gore Park. So she's got it all worked out. Should only cost you $9,000, which is within budget.
We spend money easy with this committee.
No, it's just, to me, it's disheartening that someone would even actually charge you. That's what's disheartening.
So that's for the Garrison Parade. Then the November 11th service will be held right out here in the forecourt of City Hall.
And that's all been booked, and she has set aside $8,650 for that.
Sound systems.
Just a quick question. You're gonna have a ceremony here outside City Hall as well as Gore Park?
No
So
Gore,
that's-
no Gore Park
No
this
Gore?
year.
No go back.
It's under construction.
Okay, thank you.
Just to
Yeah.
explain, if Remembrance Day falls on a weekend,
Yep.
okay, there's only one parade. Because then all of the members of the local militia and that can parade and this kind of thing, and they're not interfering with their job. However, if it falls on a weekday, depending upon the day of the week, either the Sunday before or the Sunday after,
Right.
we'll have the garrison parade so that all the troops can come out and do their thing. On the actual day itself, there will still be a ceremony, but it's considerably scaled down. And
Yeah, on the 11th, it's just, we just ask the veterans to come, normally to Gore Park,
Okay.
and we have a service. Same service we had for the Garrison Parade,
Right.
but all we have there are the veterans, unit colors and, the ceremony. And this year, November the 11th is on a Tuesday, so we'll be out here on Tuesday, but Sunday before, we'll be down Little in the Gardens.
And that's my schedule too, only it's up in Glenbrook.
So it's always been that way.
when I say scaled down, I just mean on the number of participants. The people who are in attendance are still huge.
Oh,
So,
isn't that amazing? It's just so awesome.
Okay, 4.4, Remembrance Day 2014. Oh, we just talked about it. So it's all been confirmed?
But we do need to have a discussion about what we're doing for a temporary cenotaph.
Yes.
Sorry, just to update, I spoke to Pam about that, and we've been knocking some ideas around, and thought that we would bring some ideas back to the committee. I gave her some ideas, and we're getting some pricing
Okay,
and stuff
all
like
right.
that. So,
And I'm sure if you need more help, Christopher would jump in there big time. But, we just need a place to, hold the service and where they can lay their wreaths and.
something to mark as a temporary cemetery.
Yeah. Yes,
Joe and I were just talking, and I apologize, but it was relevant to this, and Joe's a very big HSR proponent, and he just came up with a brilliant idea. I won't steal somebody else's idea, so that's just giving you that preamble. What if this committee asked the HSR to grant veterans a free ride on November the 11th?
They already do.
They already do.
Yes.
There you
Yeah,
go.
no, I was,
Treat it.
sorry, I was noting that
All right,
to the
thank you.
counselor, somebody should note to the HSR that most veterans come on the buses to downtown Gore Park, and Laguna Station only gets one bus every 30 minutes on a Sunday, so there may be a need
You
for...
mean they don't use up all the parking? Oh, I'm sorry.
There may be a need for some logistics in terms of getting people to the station and getting them back downtown.
yeah. And also, we haven't announced it yet publicly, but I hope that gets into the paper in September and October, and, keep reminding people that there is a change, because
Joey.
there is,
I've already
do
published
that.
that it's confirmed, and a lot of people are discussing it
There you go.
already.
okay, terrific.
Thank you, sir.
What type of facility is it that you require as a temporary location to, as you were saying, to lay your wreaths and whatnot?
what would be required?
Yeah, what type of facilities that you're looking for?
Well, some of the things that we've been talking about is probably the most appropriate areas where the big Christmas tree goes. So we've been looking at, Pam and I spoke about actually creating the cenotaph with scaffolding and filter cloth that is screened with the actual cenotaph on it, so it looks like that. But we may also look at something, doing it out as a temporary art call, public art call, to create something for City Hall and maybe get it up a little bit earlier. So that's why we want to come back with some different, did you have an idea?
Well, I was just wondering what type of facility you were looking for, because I'm sure that, depending on your needs, I'm sure our branch would be more than happy to accommodate. Our facility, I'm not sure if you know where it is directly across the street from HMCS Star. And we not only have our own building, excuse me, but we have a large field as well, a sports field. Again, I'm not sure what you.
Just to explain, traditionally, we always start at the armories, and the Gore Park is around the corner.
Yes.
The troops all meet at the armories, and then they march out
Yes,
to the
as we
location.
do.
So we can't turn around and have them marching 4 or 5 miles or something, rather, to get to a particular area. Leona Station was decided because it was still within a reasonable distance for the troops to come out, march down to form up, and then when they're done, to march away. So, I'm sure we could have come up with all kinds of different locations and that, but the logistics of getting everybody to one place where they can march away from sort of
absolutely.
limited where we were going to locate people.
Absolutely.
That's a very kind suggestion, and I know
It was.
that Cougar and Lion, when I did Royal Bank Aquafest, they were heavily involved and used to do.
I remember that. I was involved with that as well.
Try to forget some of it, but anyway, down there, that was always our big party place afterwards. But we did some really interesting, on your front lawn, doing some marching bands and things like that, so it was really nicely done.
So we just had to come up with some sort of a monument design, just so that when we lay the wreaths, they have a place to lay it.
Right.
And
One of the other ideas is that we recently had some artillery pieces that were renovated, and the talk was to mount these things as a temporary dais, and possibly get something to represent both the Navy and the Air Force to go with it as well too. So that we could, and something that could be easily, quickly set up, quickly taken away, and then used the next day on the actual Remembrance Day as well too. So.
Excellent.
you didn't know that we had artillery pieces that city owned, and just spent a small fortune renovating them.
It's been a huge learning curve this past 3 years for me to know everything.
Takes time, but
It does, you're right.
Okay, 4-5, Veterans Place at Gore Park. Gore Park pedestrianization, just what a word. Update. So,
That I was hoping that one of you who were at the meeting last week could update.
well, I was at the meeting, Fern was at the
Absolutely.
meeting, Art Tompkins was at the meeting from this committee, and we discussed about the 9 panels that are going into the park, 9 glass panels that they can mount stuff on both sides.
Nice.
So that if you walk into the park, there'll be a topic on one of the panels that you can read and look at, and it could be a battle that one of the regiments was in. It could be anything pertaining to the veterans, so we're not going to mount all the names of the dead. We're not going to do that. Because you miss one person
And there's over
or one
3,000
event,
items.
and they'll be down your throats like you wouldn't believe, so best to leave that kind of stuff alone. The RHOI has their war memorial at the beach with all the names, so we don't want to do that there. So the Gore Park Committee have done a wonderful job. The only suggestion that I gave them is that at the cenotaph as it presently is, they're going to move it, they're going to turn it, and they're going to move it like they have to reset all the stone anyway, because the mortar in between is coming out, and it's a lot of damage. So
yeah.
that's one of the things that they're going to do. but I mentioned about getting, or seeing a photo of Remembrance Day service in Holland. And in our cenotaph, we have these gold crosses that they place the wreaths on. Well, the wind comes up and the wreath goes flying, you know, so we're forever picking them up and replacing them and all that. In Holland, they have blocks that come out of the ground about so far, and they just lay the wreath on that. It don't blow away. That's just an idea, so hopefully they're gonna look at it, and we
Yeah,
have
you can
another.
bring that up, and they were gonna look at that.
Yeah, I think we have another meeting in April. I think they're planning to have another meeting in April. And a lot of good topic went around the table. There was quite a few of us there, and, you know, Ken quite controlled that pretty good, I thought, you know, so we were there for 2 hours, and we discussed nothing but the cenotaph and the park, so. There's another wall going to be there where the old washrooms used to be, and you getting warm there?
It's hot in here.
Okay.
I concur.
So that's all I can say. You got anything, Fern? You were
Well,
there.
Ken did give us a good general discussion and background presentation. And one of the things that came up was what words or short phrases, in our experience, would best describe the meaning of military service to the community and country. And some of the words that were considered were honor, sacrifice, service, but there is a plethora of words that came up from the group that attended, and these are the words or phrases that will be incorporated, I guess, when on the panels.
Yeah, on the panels, yeah.
But things are looking good. It's going to be
Awesome.
once everything is renovated.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm running out of time. My wife
Okay.
has to go to work. I'd like to say thank you very much for having me here. It's been an honor
You're more than welcome.
meeting you all. And I look forward to perhaps attending another meeting in the future. I find this very interesting, actually. And it's a very important job that you're doing. It really is.
Thank you very much.
I have a history of my family being in the RAF and whatnot. And
How'd you hook up with the Navy?
I'm the only Canadian in my
He's a rebel.
family, so
Ah,
out of my entire family, I am the only one.
is that right?
However, there are things in the future that I would love to see the Veterans Committee perhaps participate with our organization more directly. Not in a funding way, but more of just a participation. And I would love to have our cadets participate more in the community. That's been a bit lacking with the previous commanding officers. So that's one of my one of the things on my bucket list for my corps.
Okay,
So
terrific. Glad to have you.
is there a contact information that I could get from one of you to
This is my email address.
already?
Please don't take this as a pickup.
My wife's a police officer, sir, so better be careful.
And I'm just scared of my wife.
Yeah, she just works down the street, so she's not far away from me.
Very good.
Once again, thank you very much, ladies and
More than
gentlemen. I
welcome.
really appreciate all your
Pleasure to have
time.
you.
Thank you.
Yes?
Just a quick question about the Gore Park, and honoring the veterans is number one priority. One of the things that I mentioned when I was doing my speech at the warplane was not only the people who went to war, but those who stayed home to fight. So, Otis Elevator, who turned their facility into, and I believe, I'm not gonna get the words right, but I believe it was the biggest anti-aircraft facility.
You
in
made the
all of-
Beaufort gun there.
So is there any thoughts to putting something that the Hamiltonians did for not just the?
Well, that was brought up, the industry, a lot of industries during the Second World War helped in the
Yeah.
war cause. And again, you don't want to start mentioning things, because if you miss somebody,
Oh, I get that, but I mean,
You know.
just even a panel to say that, there was the home front war as well, and people
Yes.
here participated. Those who were unable to pick up a gun, those that just supported the loved
how
ones
about
that went on.
how about the women that worked at the
Well,
Pasco and
that's-
Stelco and,
How about Rosie
Very-
delivered it.
Yeah, Rosie
Sat at
delivered
home
it.
and raised their families, we,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a topic that, it was all discussed,
Yeah.
they kept on top
I
of
just,
it.
I'd love to see that captured a little bit, just to honor those that were here as well.
Well, get a hold of Ken Coit and come to the next meeting.
All right? I've got the 8 down, I'm coming back again.
But, yeah, they're doing a good job.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's good. Okay, standing items.
Evaluation.
Oh, evaluation of, oh, yeah. Well, I haven't got my glasses with me. Evaluation of volunteer committees. Staff will collect individual evaluation and put together in one submission.
I sent these home with you last month,
Yes.
and everybody was supposed to bring me back their.
Hands up those who did their homework.
And some people did their homework. The deadline to get it into clerks isn't until April 22nd, so I will put all of the results together. Oh, you did yours?
Well, I got some of it done.
Okay. Well, if you want to send it to me before the April 8th.
I will drop it off at your desk, my dear,
Okay,
if you let me in the door.
I will let you in the door.
Give it
So
to you,
if
how about giving it to you next
It-
meeting?
well,
No, it's too late
because
then.
Too late.
it will be too
I'll
late,
give it
because
to
we
you
want
now.
to review it, make sure we've captured everything that you guys want to say,
Sure.
and then I will put it into clerks in time for their deadline.
Okay, can we go to,
Yeah.
yeah, standing items, 5.1, budget review. Event expenses. You
So-
just told me you spent about $17,000, so.
So you'll remember, Council Marilla wanted you to make sure you went over the budget for each event. What we've done is the $25,000 budget that the Veterans Committee requested has been approved at GIC. It still needs to go through the final budget approval, hopefully in March. I'm sure you will get your $25,000. I don't think there's any issue with that. So Pam has worked on a draft budget, but because it hasn't been totally approved yet, I didn't bring it to share with you this week, but it'll come next meeting.
Very good. 5.2, World War I anniversary commemoration. The city has a plaque that used to sit on the wall out here by the entranceway. They're going to redo that on November the 11th, when we have the service, or after the service on Remembrance Day. We're going to have another little service. Yeah, consolidate it all in there and do that service right here. We're going to rehang the plaque on the wall in City Hall here. Well, we talked about 5.3 many times, yeah. 5.4, upcoming events. The only upcoming is the West End decoration that I know of, that I'm aware of right now, June, whatever date in June.
Sunday, June 8th, I believe.
I think it's the first Sunday in June, or the second,
Yeah,
in June.
Sunday, June 8th, I believe it is.
okay.
Okay.
And Counselor, what that is the different, various clubs in the city, they go to Woodland Cemetery, to the Fields of Honor. Last year it was in the lower, so this year it should be in the upper section. And we conduct a memorial service there. And my friend at the end of the table here, Mr. Viola, he gets to sing again,
The voice is there.
Mr. O'Canada. Yeah.
Just to explain, I'll explain it as best I understand. These decoration days were the predecessor to Remembrance Day. And it's my understanding that what would happen is the different military units that were in an area that had served in the wars would get together and have a huge
Celebration.
picnic, celebration, everything else there at the graveyards where they would decorate the graves of their departed comrades and would basically do some reminiscing, but they would make an event out of it. as what's happened is as time has gone by, it's come down to the point where we have the East End and they don't call it West End, do they? It's just Decoration Day and East End Decoration Days. And we're in the process of trying to drum up a bit more support for these events. We're even talking about possibly trying to amalgamate them into one thing and make it an information day for school children. We're trying to see what kind of support we can drum up so that maybe the armories can set up static displays. We're trying to raise the awareness of the military community within our community. And these are some of the things that we're working on. Decoration Day has sort of dwindled a bit so that there's only the participants seem to show up for the thing and that's about it. But we're working on trying to raise awareness.
Yes, Councillor.
What date is this usually the decoration happen?
East End, or West End, sorry, is,
It's usually the second Sunday in June.
Second Sunday in June.
Second Sunday. It's interesting because it sounds to me that we've got, like even in Mount Hope, the Sunday that's closest to the Battle of Britain is when they honor and decorate the 12 graves of the airmen that didn't make it home from the Mount Hope training. You've got Vimy Ridge, and every date is different, and because it's important to that battle. So it's almost as if you want to corral a lot of that and harness that energy so that you can get the participants from all of those to come to the decoration. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
and as you're finding that as the generations get older, the things start to dwindle. But it's almost like, and I like the idea of you doing the children education component. That's why I'm not an advocate of having November the 11th be a holiday. You go to any school on November the 11th, and they're all going to be in that gymnasium, and they're going to learn. They're not sitting at home watching cartoons. So, like I did when it was a holiday when I was a kid. But it's interesting if you were going to do a children's component, and it would be great as a first step. But I would love to see it if it was more holistic and showed all the mini celebrations throughout the city, and not just focused on one. The first one could be your first pamphlet going out, but it would be great if you could add chapters to that. You know, this is happening in Mount Hope, this is Vimy Ridge, this is D-Day. You know, all the different dates that you have would be wonderful, because then if people can't make it to one, they would try to make it to the others.
One of the ideas that was thrown around this table was the development of a poster. And the poster itself was going to have all of the different veterans events that happen within the city.
Awesome.
Mark the dates and everything else around this thing. And the idea was that if this committee managed to get all of these dates and everything else together and the posters done, what we would do is we would present them to the different schools around the city. That way the awareness could be mounted on a wall somewhere, and it's there for them to look at. The problem that we run into is that many of the clubs within the city, organizations, all work within isolation.
Yes.
They don't seem to share information very well. When we try to contact somebody to get some information from them, getting it back to us is a little difficult too. But if you have any of these dates, please forward them to me, and we'll see if we can't include this. This is unfortunately one of these things that's been on the table and dwindling along for a long time. But
and that would be, you know, the posters would be great, because we all know that each year that date is a moving target, right? It's the closest Sunday. So if it was worded in such a way that it's generic, that it doesn't have to be dated. I've got the Wing 447 up in Mount Hope. We've got the Air Cadets up in Mount Hope. We've got St. Paul's Anglican Church that takes care of those graves. We have a lot of our own celebrations going on all the time. So I'd be more than happy to help out with that.
just if you.
And could we not, is there an opportunity to then go to the federal government to say, this is something we're looking at educating our children? Can we have some money for brochures, not only just posters?
That would depend on whether or not we still have a Department of Veterans Affairs this time next year.
Yeah, you never know.
But I can't imagine our federal representatives and our provincial representatives not wanting to buy into something like this, even if it's just out of their own budgets.
well, anytime we use the poppy, we have to get permission to do that too.
I know.
so you know that story.
You have my permission to wear your poppies here anytime.
Never comes off my jacket.
There you go.
You know, people have challenged me. Said, what are you wearing a poppy for? I said, that's my way of remembrance,
That's right.
you
It's
know.
not just November the 11th.
And I don't care what the Legion says about it. So,
So, Bill, I said it straight to you. Would that be better?
David.
David, sorry.
Yeah,
I apologize. I said it straight to you.
for what? Oh, yes,
So all
yes,
these
by all
dates.
means.
So
Yes,
I'll
please.
get that from Anna, if Anna don't mind, or Rebecca, if you don't mind sending me David's
You
information.
always write it down.
Awesome.
What's that?
Just give her your slip of paper.
I'm in the
It's
process
David's
of
business
handing
cards.
out notes today, so.
we gotta get a card, Dave.
Yeah, right.
That's okay. Rebecca's got you already in file. She'll just send it to me, and we'll just,
Okay.
we'll all be hooked up electronically. That
Okay.
saves me losing papers, which I do constantly.
Okay.
Awesome.
We're into new business. D-Day, 70th anniversary, June the 6th. There's a date. We have an email
Francis, isn't it?
from Reverend Francis Chisholm.
Oh, yeah.
And he's wondering if we can do something for the 70th anniversary of D-Day. And we just got this morning, so we haven't any talk on it. I don't know what we could do, June the 6th. It's something we want to add to our already, the 4 events that we already look after. Of course, there'd only be one time, eh? The 70th anniversary.
The challenge, Bob, is that we would have needed to know this 6 months ago, so we
Yeah.
could put it into our work plans.
I fully agree. It's kind of late for doing something other than getting the item in the paper so that people can read it and remember what happened 70 years ago on June the 6th, you know. But I know that, and I haven't seen him since, but he asked me about the dates for the West End and East End, you know, because he tries to get out. If you have never met Reverend Chisholm,
Oh, yes,
he's about this tall,
yes.
and he all over the world, that guy, and wonderful man. And
What about the warplane? Would they be doing anything?
I don't know.
It's almost like you could at least
Well, aren't
direct
they
his attention to
flying the
some-
bomber? Aren't they taking Lancaster, England, around that time? When are they going?
They're going during the Battle of Britain, I think it's August.
August. Okay.
Here's a suggestion. We talked about wanting to come up with a temporary dais or cenotaph for
Gore Park.
Gore Park. Why don't we make a decision on what we're going to use before that date, and if nothing else, we'll set it up as a temporary monument in front of the city hall here to see its usability, whether or not it meets with approval, and also marks the 70th anniversary.
Great. Then we got it.
It's a practice run.
They must have warehouse space in the city, haven't they?
Yeah, my
Down
office.
there. Your office?
Yeah,
I'm under the understanding that these guns are a little large, but
yeah, that's all right. Sometimes I eat them.
Well, that's an idea. We can bring this back in April and see if we can come up with something. No, that's all we can do, really. There's not much more we can do.
I mean, Francis wants to run as far as having a memorial or a service in front of it, that we can, you know, because of the late nature of bringing this thing forward, the space is there for him to do it. We
Yep.
just set up the backdrop for him.
Good idea.
And Bob, as far as D-Day is concerned, you know, we of the agency Asylum, every year, we have a dinner and banquet for the D-Day anniversary. So I don't know how the 70th could work into that,
I don't know.
you know.
Something to think about and bring back to the April meeting and
Sure.
if you're gonna be working with that, with the HIDA, like I said, it would be nice if we were to represent all three branches of the military.
Mhm.
So as I said, I've mentioned to our friend who was here today, that we've got the guns, which as far as I'm concerned, artillery is part of the Army. If we can come up with something for the Navy and also something representative of the Air Force as well too,
Mhm.
even if it's just a propeller that somebody may have,
Sure.
you know, but at least we can, honor all three branches.
Looking good.
It wouldn't be much of a chance to get the Lancaster to fly over at the time either,
It
because
costs too much anyway.
too much money, yeah.
Why?
Costs too much money.
You were worried about the money that we were spending on Remembrance Day? You should see what we
When you
pay.
ask the Lancaster to fly over, it costs you money.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Also for the police services, for blocking off the road.
Look into that, Brenda.
So is this for June the 6th you're talking about?
Yeah, just Reverend Chisholm was wondering if we were going to do anything, and,
No, I got it.
The flyover that we do on Decoration Day on June 8th is $500. The flyover that we do on November 9, is there one on November?
It depends on whether it's the
That's the
Garrison
Saturday.
Parade.
Garrison Parade, yeah.
Okay, the flyover at the Garrison Parade, we've got here, it's a Harvard bomber, and it's $750. And the fly past with the Lancaster bomber, we have no charge for
Uh-huh.
November 11th.
Bomber, where did that become?
No, it must be a Harvard and a bomber.
I just should've got Harvard bomber
It's
here.
usually the Mitchell.
I was
Yeah.
a traitor.
I can't imagine Lancaster
You'd have to
not
throw them
being
out
up
the
on
side,
June
eh?
6th.
Yeah.
I can't imagine Lancaster not being up on June the 6th, going somewhere, doing something. It just doesn't make sense. Anyways, when I'm talking to David, when we furnish stuff up.
You know people out there and get that
It's
thing up for
amazing
nothing?
when you've got the airport from your ward, eh? My dad also works.
Okay. I'll give you this so that you can go through it and see what you think of it.
Did you print this off on your own printer?
Yeah?
I'll give this back to you. You email it to me and I'll print it off, because this is quite the cartridge.
Well, Dave's got the original.
Well, then I'll get, if Dave doesn't mind.
Okay.
This
You
is-
get his site, he's got it there. Wife only gets upset with me, like last night yesterday I was printing off a travel insurance thing, 47 pages. She was standing there watching this thing flip out of the, she didn't have a heart attack.
Cha-ching, cha-ching.
So anyway, that's the meeting. And next meeting is April the 8th in this room. Okay, thank you. Thank everybody for coming.
Thank you, Rebecca.
And to our new member, thank you for coming,
Welcome,
sir.
sir.
Welcome aboard, Robert.
Thanks for the opportunity to be here.